My presentation will be in Spanish because my English is not very good. I thank the organization for the opportunity we have to do this, because this doesn't happen in all the congresses, especially this with patients. Until now, we professionals that we work for the patients and working with the patients, that's a fundamental change, which is the future. So well, today I would like to speak a little bit about nutrition and healthy lifestyles. Prevention is basic in this disease because more and more we have more pharmaceutical resources, we have prevention. Sometimes economy helps or not to be able to do plans for hepatitis or about education or alcohol, but we see hepatitis related to obesity. In US, today, the obesity problem as a main factor of liver problems has overcome, which is alcohol or viral hepatitis. So we have this big problem of obesity. And I am a nutritionist, so I am here to speak about that. Factors which are very important to control our lifestyle and food intake. We need to eat in a very, very good way, so to have the right quantity of food. Before Professor Romero spoke about it, but we're going to speak a little bit more. We have obese people because they have malnutrition. They have a lack of some special nutrients, like proteins, for example. We have obese patients with sarcopenia or with problems related to with some vitamins or minerals. So the malabsorption in the intestine, this is really bad. Sometimes we have some alterations in the intestine that make the fact that, well, there's not a good absorption of the food. The patient is in a hypermetabolic situation, which means that maybe sometimes he spends more protein than a healthy person. Proteins are very important, remember. Until now we have been heard about restricted proteins, but no, we have to be friends with proteins. And then the ability of being able to store some nutrients. Liver patient spends more glycogen because he has these reserves of sugar and he spends those reserves more than a healthy person. If that person spends many hours without without eating, then he can have some alterations that can affect protein sooner or later. So, Mediterranean diet, well, we are here in Seville, we're going to take advantage of this diet. Here we have a pyramid, food pyramid, which is very known. And here we have at the base, healthy lifestyle and exercise. Okay, so now we're going to have an example. So please stand up and we're going to stretch a little bit because we've been sitting for a while. Now we're going to do some stretching, very simple one. Now, could you please stand on your tiptoes, as we don't have much space in the room. Let's do this on our tiptoes, and we're going to do this 10 times, up and down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now, our legs are agile. And now we're going to take a deep breath and we're going to stretch. We're going to stretch our hands over our head according to your possibilities, and we'll count up to 5. So we go up with your arms and we stretch as if we wanted to touch the ceiling, and we're going to count until 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? And now we're going to repeat it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we can sit for another while. Thank you. We go on with the food part now. Here, we have the well-known pyramid that helps us reflect what Professor Romero was talking about. Not all nutrients are good in the same quantity. We should have a little balance every day. For example, there's a lot of quantity of vegetables and very, very little quantity of animal. So now we are like helping our planet. So Mediterranean diet helps our planet because we consume kilometer zero products and a lot of vegetable and very little animal. What about portions? We eat the same as a liver patient. What I mean is that there are a lot of studies, organizations that determine the quantity of our rations. We have to eat 2 portions, 3 portions. Well, this is a little complicated. How big is my dish? Well, it depends. If at home we eat a lot and big portions or not, we have a problem of obesity that we have to control. How can we do this with the portions of food? In a very simple way. Now, your reference now are your hands, so please look at your hands and think how it has to be, for example, my portion of carbohydrates, grains. Every time in our main meals, I would have to have one ratio of rice, pasta, bread. What quantity? Well, rice, pasta, that would be the quantity of my fist closed. As you can see, my fist is not the same as José Antonio's fist, which is bigger. Well, why? Because he is also taller and bigger than me. So his need is bigger than mine. So it's with us. And we have this when we go to a restaurant, so we can know about our portions. What about vegetables? What about the ratio, the portion about this? Minimum twice a day to have vitamins and minerals, and one has to be raw vegetables. Because when we cook them, a part of the vitamins lose their chemical texture and is not working in our body anymore. So my hands like this, in the shape of a bowl, this should be my salad, my vegetables, my broccoli. This should be the quantity, twice a day. Well, I made a gazpacho, gazpacho in a glass, but vegetables in our 2 hands. What about fruit? Well, 2 or 3 pieces a day. Normally we talk about pieces of fruit. But for example, countries that produce fruit like Spain, pieces of fruit are very, very big. We like really big fruit, of course, and then 5 pieces, maybe it's too many, maybe it's too much. So the standard of a piece of fruit in Europe would be approximately 150 grams. In Spain, an orange or an apple is 350 grams. So here we have to eat a little bit less. What about the fruit? What about the size? The size of my fist as well. This is an orange, for example. If it's a big orange, maybe it's 2 portions. Just 1 orange, okay? What about dairy products? Well, human beings are the only human beings who drink milk. Well, but we also fry eggs. Come on, that's not an excuse. Dairy products are a product that has calcium. If I am intolerant to lactose and I cannot have that, we have other alternatives. I have dried fruit, for example, or other kinds of drinks. Calcium is very important in our diet. How much? 2 portions in an adult person. Elder people, pregnant women, well, then it's more, 3 maybe. 2 portions would be like 2 glasses. We can do it in yogurts, for example, or a piece of cheese. What about proteins? 2 portions of proteins. And the liver patient, 2. We only have restrictions in proteins when we have some neurological disorder or a metabolic disorder that make us control this. But in general, we need to have an intake of protein in a right way. So, it's like your hand until here, until this point here. Can you see? Well, it's not very big, is it? So we don't have more need to eat more. If we eat more than this, if we eat more animal protein of this, we'll use it for accumulating fat. So we have to do this twice a day, okay? When you talk about oil, it says oil, not fat, vegetal oils, which are very good for your heart. How many times a day? Well, we have to cook too, so we're going to use oil to cook. 3 and 6, from 3 to 6 portions a day. My thumb would be a portion. That would be like a spoonful. But of course, what is my need? Well, this is my need. But if I am a bigger person, a taller person, maybe I will need a little bit more. Now, when we have the coffee break, now you measure your hands. And you have a look at the croissants and your hands, and we'll see what happens, okay? I'm not going to look. Right. So we are able to see that when we have to speak and work with patients, each person has different needs, and we have to adjust to our needs. But the diet has to be varied, and if we have a course, half of the course would be vegetable, and only 1 part of animal product. Proteins, we can also find them in vegetables, for example, in legumes, in cereals, and in dried fruit. Now, the summary would be, when we talk about a liver patient who is compensated, we have to take into account what his energy needs are. And it's a situation of catabolism, so we need more protein. And we have to secure the protein not to have problems. And a Mediterranean diet can give us a very good base. If we have restrictions of protein, what happens? Then sarcopenia appears, which means that I destroy my muscle to be able to get protein. And part of that protein, well, I have also this part of ammonia that goes through the feces, and that gives a lot of problems in the intestines. We have to control that. There are some patients that they can have steatorrhea or a bad absorption of the fat through the intestine. This makes that there are some vitamins that go together with the fat that are not well absorbed. We have to take that into account. Fat-soluble vitamins, and we have to look at the minerals like zinc and selenium, And those vitamins are altered in liver patients. We can have those in fish, in seafood, in vegetables. Here you can have pescadito frito in Seville, fresh fish. Sometimes we need to have some supplementation, of course, pharmacological supplementation. What happens if we have the disease and we have decompensated disease? Well, what happens in the intestine? Well, there are studies that confirm that help with prebiotics, which is fiber actually, fiber that we can have through cereal and fruit. That can help when there are some renal alterations. And then we have this, and this helps. This ammonia that needs to be eliminated through the feces can have a metabolic bias which is much easier. For example, lactulose, it's a kind of fiber, and that works with patients who have an altered renal disease. What about water restriction? Well, in a decompensated patient, this happens, for example, when we have ascites, we have to be careful with water. What about branched-chain amino acids? This is a very good option when we have problems. But, well, we're talking about a patient with a more serious situation. And then what about being on an empty stomach for a long time? Well, our metabolism can balance it more or less, but one says, well, if I don't eat for many hours, then I get thin. Well, it doesn't work like this. No, no, no. Because we have some compensating mechanisms, but it doesn't work like this. If you don't eat for long hours, that's really bad for a liver patient. So this means that we eat the proteins, our proteins. We have to avoid that. When we speak about how many meals we have to do a day, 3, 4, 5, for liver patient, it is very important to know, to see how much time he spends between meal and meal. So then you can have a snack, like between hours. And after dinner, if it takes a long time for you to go to bed, you need to also eat something else. Well, I just wanted to have this practical thing. We have done some stretching. We have looked at our hands. Well, any questions that you have? Thank you very much. We have time for one or maybe two questions. ¿Una pregunta o dos?
¿Quiere que lo diga en español o en inglés? Okay. Okay. Yes, okay. I just wanted to...
Quería saber, bueno, primero muchas gracias, muy interesante. Quiero protestar por una cosa, porque estoy de acuerdo por la dieta mediterránea, que es muy buena, como la comida vikinga y tal, pero no estoy de acuerdo en el estilo de vida mediterráneo, porque este estilo de vida es terrible. El desayuno es terrible, no es nutritivo y se ve mucho alcohol. Y los horarios son muy distintos de Escandinavia, por ejemplo. Así que la comida vale, pero el estilo de vida mediterráneo no. Muchas gracias. Well, in the pyramids, we speak about the traditional food of the Mediterranean diet. Traditional, because people moved a lot, but now we don't move so much. And the alcohol consumption is out of the pyramid. And it should be in little quantities of a lower degree with meals. This is very conflictive, of course, very controversial. And of course here Spain is a country in which there is wine, but now we don't have the traditional lifestyle. We're not working for 10 hours outside. We're sitting inside, indoors. So the recommendation of alcohol now is 0. It's changing, yes. This refers to Mediterranean diet before, much before. Physical activity, for example. Well, in Seville, go and have a walk. This is Mediterranean style. Have a walk, talk to your friends. This is Mediterranean lifestyle. Thank you very much.